That's right. You see the topic, growth. I mean, why is change important? I'll tell you why. In order to grow, I mean, growth doesn't happen without change, right? If you got the same habits, routines, and a way of doing things, I mean, how do you grow? You know, and it's okay to have a routine because you have to stick to some things like a roadmap in order to get to where you need to go. But some things need to change as you grow older in life, right? Because some people can be stuck in their childish ways and they never grow. And like I was saying in the other video, some people, it's like with the job thing. It's not even in their peripheral to even get a job, which is or just to do something constructive. People want to sell drugs. People don't know anything else, but they go back and forth to jail. It's no growth, right? And it's kind of like you're entering your second childhood. And you know what? It's crazy because some people never actually grow up, and then there's some people who they're childish all through their adulthood, but it won't click for them until they're like in their 40s, 50s, right? And then it's like, oh, let me change my life around. I don't want to say it's too late. It's never too late, but I mean, come on. You done spent half of your adulthood fooling around and still being stuck in your childish ways. When you don't grow out of these habits, these childish habits, like I say, you enter into your second childhood, and you never become an adult. Even though, they say scientifically that, a person's brain or a man's brain does not really fully develop until 25. And I mean, that could be true on some levels because I mean, you can say a person's brain is developed, but I think they're just stuck in their ways now. Some people don't even want growth. Some people don't even, have the agenda to grow at all. Which is a bad thing. Some people doesn't don't have the desire to move forward. Some people are very lackadaisical and lazy. You know, you got people hopping from house to house, sleeping on couches, uh, not really putting any effort. Doing drugs all day, and asking other people for money. But it's like, what are they doing for themselves, and how are they actually helping themselves? You see, I can't help a person who doesn't help themselves. You don't even want to help yourself, so why do you want me to help you? You know, you can't pour back into me, right? All I can do is pour into you. And most relationships are symbiotic. So if this is not a symbiotic relationship where you can pour back into me, then really, I mean, what are you really good for? Why are you around me? You're not trying to grow. You're not trying to move forward. You're not trying to progress with your life. So therefore, I got to kick you out of my circle because there's really nothing you can do to make me grow or progress, motivate me, anything. So this is what I realized as I actually started to grow up. And to me, being comfortable can become a trap. You see, when you're too comfortable, it's another form of pleasure, you know? So comfort is where your dreams go to die. And if you're too comfortable, that means I really don't think that you're growing. You can't be too comfortable because now you're not progressing. You're actually staying where you think the comfort is. Whether that's a bad relationship, I mean, people can be stuck in bad relationships, bad financial situations and jobs, bad habits, stuck in their ways as far as continuing to do drugs all throughout their life, and they never actually click. Stuck in unhealthy ways, and sometimes people stay stuck because it's comfortable. You know, it's comfortable. It's you're probably using someone or with someone just for a certain reason, and now it becomes a situationship. Now you need that person to pay your bills, or you need that person maybe pleasuring yourself, sex. You may need them because you don't want to be lonely, or like I said, with the another person can hold your happiness. Is because you want to be comfortable. So you're actually exchanging those things for whatever bad habits they have, or I mean, that person could be disrespectful to you, but not a good look, for you and how your family views you. That person could be dabbling in other criminal activities, and it can fall back on you. You can be spending money on them. They can hold you back. But because you're seeking some type of pleasure from that person, then it's like now you're comfortable, and now you're actually coping and dealing with these things that are bad habits on their part, things that can fall back on you, and now you're just stuck in a position like a rigor mortis, right? You're just stuck. You're not moving anywhere. You're not growing. You're not progressing. Comfortability equals pleasure. So what do you do about that? You need to be constantly changing, right? You shouldn't be the same person you were last year. You should be in a different position, a higher level. You should be making more money, right? You should be eating healthier. You should be working out more, or um, looking better, feeling better, you know, constantly changing, because it takes that in life for you to actually grow. So, change allows you to, when you're put in new situations, right? You're put in new situations, and then naturally, or you have to adapt, right? You got to adapt to new situations, and with these new situations can bring on new skills, new opportunities, and new strategies on how to get where you're going, right? So, even with the drugs thing, right? I had to adapt to not actually need anything or depend on anything outside of myself to um just to get through the day. And I had to adapt to this new way of living, because I was so dependent on this drug. And I just couldn't shake it, right? The anxiety would just set in tremendously, but I had to face this. I had to face this new reality, because I knew I couldn't just go on like this. I can't be in my 40s and 50s and still doing drugs. At some point, I have to get rid of this, or rid of this habit, because I need to usher in the new, healthy, best version of me, right? So I have to give this unhealthy habit up. And when I started to, adapt and get used to this new way of living, at first it was like hell, you know? At first it was like, I can't do this. At first it was just, you know what? First it was unbearable, almost painful, you know? But I realized as time went on, the cravings, right? I would have cravings. That's how you know it's like an entity or a demon that's in you, when you're taking drugs, right? It's really a spirit that's really in you. You have to starve that spirit out and get back to your regular self. Because what's happening is, once you become dependent upon these drugs, your hormonal balance is now off because of the dependency of the drug. And that could be with anything, with any drug, right? So once you starve it out, so let's back up. So when your hormonal balance is off, a hormone, which is called a hormonal imbalance, now it's like you need this drug and you're craving for it. But once you ignore it and actually stand up and fight it face to face, nose to nose, right? You actually starve the cravings out. And before you know it, the spirit or the demon of the drugs will actually flee your body, right? The only thing you can't do is relapse when things get tough, because now you're allowing, just like a vampire, you're allowing that drug to enter and back into your life and into your body. That drug is an entity, so now it has a hold over you, right? And now you become a slave to it. Now it's actually talking to you like you really need it when you really don't. So this is why change is important, because change needs to be uncomfortable, right? So that you can get back to the comfortability. And when you get comfortable again, you need to get uncomfortable again, you know, as far as practicing healthy habits, maintaining discipline, maintaining structure, and maintaining a routine and a schedule that only progresses you and moves you forward. Anything else, you're too comfortable. You can't have too much pleasure. You can't have too much pleasure. Too much pleasure is that could become a demon as well. Now you're dependent upon pleasure. Now you need that for a stimulation. Actually, traded in that entity for another entity. So too much pleasure, no. When you're having too much fun and too much pleasure, that, in my eyes, that's a bad thing, because you're getting way too comfortable. You need to be ever changing. Hope you guys realize this. So change, uh, it forces you to actually think differently. You know, otherwise, it allows you to think differently, um, in ways that you wouldn't think just by being comfortable. And I would say that hard times actually creates stronger minds, because now you're actually going through, you went through something and you came out on the other side, and now you have an experience that you can share, or that next time what not to do. And this actually builds character and sturdiness, right? Because now you've experienced something. Now the next time you won't be easily tricked, or like I said, you can actually pass on the knowledge. Now you can actually add value, because I mean, come on, tough times, it builds you up. What don't kill you will only make you stronger. So see, your old habits, it may not fit your lifestyle today, right? So whatever you were doing 5 years ago can be actually hindering you today. That's why you need to be ever changing. You can't stay with the old habits, right? You may have, you know, like I said, you might smoke a weed to get rid of anxiety, right? And now today that hinders you because you've been on it so long that your actual brain cells start to deplete, and you're actually becoming more and more lazier. And you look around and you're like, I'm really not doing anything with my life. So it may help you before, anxiety wise. You may used it for, like I said, pleasure or recreational. But those old habits always come and bite you in the ass as you continue to grow in life. These are things that you need to change. How will you progress on drugs? How will you progress by gluttony, pleasure eating, or I forgot what the term is when people are sad, or they're going through something, and they look at food as another drug, another entity, sugar and high salt food, things that are very, very unhealthy. Now you're gaining weight. Now you have other um, health problems, diseases that may come, or now you have high blood pressure. You can have diabetes just off of bad habits. Now you're not moving around as much. You're not working out. You're not drinking enough water. These are all unhealthy habits that does not serve you in today's time. So these are things you need to focus on and you need to think about, right? Because your future self is looking at you, and you want to please your future self, because your future self will not be happy with the habits that you have right now. And I want to talk about fear, because the fear of change is quite normal, but you can't let fear hold you back, and you can't let fear make every decision for you in your life. I mean, some fear is good, okay? You got a fight or flight mentality, and but fear, right? Fear of you not, you losing that job, but it's not really serving you. Fear of you losing that relationship, and it's not serving you. Fear of not depending on this drug anymore, because you're so stressed and depressed and very anxious, right? You can't use fear for everything. Fear can be uh, uh, another drug, another entity that you let into your life and you let control you. You got to kick fear in the ass, all right? You got to stand up to fear. It may feel uncomfortable at first. That's what it's all about, being uncomfortable. This is the only way that you can grow and move forward. It's the only way. You got to get uncomfortable first, you know, and you will be glad you did it. All right? Drop in the comments. Let me know, what have you changed in the past year or so. All right? I would love to know. All right? It's your boy Jay Tuner, 900. This is the Growth Hub, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.